Hello everyone, this is Tim Bryce with the National Weather Service in El Paso, Texas. All right, continuing on with our Gemini in Google Workspaces. I think when you think about Gemini, you can kind of understand how Gemini would work in Google Docs because it's very text-based. You can understand how Gemini would work in Google Slides because it's both text and there's images, and you can generate text, you can generate images through Gemini. What's a little harder to wrap your head around maybe is using Gemini in Google Sheets, the spreadsheet program that Google has. But I will show you there are some little nifty things in there that we can use Gemini for when you're working in Sheets. So let me kind of jump over here real quick, and we're going to create a blank sheet. So now I've just got this blank sheet and I want to set up kind of a template. So what I'm going to do is actually give Gemini a prompt. Now when you get in here, you can see that you've got Gemini, access to Gemini right here, and it pops in these tables. It's got these tables that you can kind of pre-fill that you can make automatically, but unless you're doing ad creation or expense classification, these aren't going to apply to you. So I'm going to go ahead and close those. Click on the Gemini icon. Got the regular Gemini sidebar here. Gives you some, if you want more ideas on what Gemini can do in Sheets, you can click on that prompt. These are just kind of canned prompts. It says create a table, and that's actually what we're going to do. You do see you have access to your gems, but like I mentioned on the other videos, right now, for some reason, my gems are not hooked up to my Google Drive. So what happened is that you can select that gem, enter a prompt, it'll run off to the gem, do whatever you've asked the gem to do, and then it'll bring back the information. Then you can insert it here in the spreadsheet. But right now, like I said, it's not working for me. You can see how clearly they've prominently displayed it, so I'm sure that's going to get worked out. I'm not sure why. Early days of AI, I guess. But that is a kind of a great tool. But for now, I just want to create a table. So I said create a table that talks about tornadoes during 2024. Give me the amount of damage in dollars, any fatalities, injuries, when the tornado started, the location, and make it about 20 rows long. So again, it's going to make this table, and it's going to fill it with data, but it's all going to be pretend data, but it'll show you kind of what it looks like. So now this table has appeared. Tornado doesn't have names for tornadoes, but you see the damage in dollars. You see the number of fatalities with these drop-down boxes, injuries, the start time, the location. It's behind my little window here, but it says insert. I click on insert there. It's a little button to click, and now that has now become part of my my spreadsheet. And now I could go in here and make edits on any of this stuff. So we've got these. Of course, if you were doing this, you probably had your own data, so you would go in here and cut this data out and then fill it in. But you've got the heads, it's got it all set up for you, kind of a template. We're actually going to stick with this data. We're going to kind of manipulate this data, and we're going to see what we can do with it. So the next thing I want to do is create a formula. So if you've ever tried to create formulas in Excel or Sheets, the simple ones are pretty easy to do, but once you start to get into some complexities, it can get kind of difficult. So I want to create a formula that calculates the average amount of damage per injury for each tornado for column, and we're going to say, what's my next column? G. So I hit this, and it's going to create it's going to read the document. It's going to give me a file that I can click on insert right here. You see it says insert. And then it's thinking, and now I have a new column added. What I didn't have, see I had 0 injuries there, so you ended up with 0. Can't divide 0 or something by 0, so it's not available or not applicable. You could clean up this file if you wanted to, but I would just, I'm not sure why you would want this statistic, but I'm kind of demonstrating how you can create a formula if you just kind of give it the words. You don't actually have to know what is the formula for this, how does it work, especially if it's a more complicated one. You can kind of give it in natural language what you want to do, and then Gemini will figure that out, give you the proper formatting, and then you tell it where to stick that particular formula. All right, so the other great thing about spreadsheets is all the great charts and graphs that we can make from them. So Gemini can help you do that as well. So give me a bar chart that shows me the amount of damage each month. And so it's going to think, and it's going to produce it. It's going to look over this whole document, and then it's going to produce a bar chart. And of course, you can get all kinds of. So there's the bar chart. It kind of gives you a synopsis of it, and then I can go ahead and click on Insert, and it's going to take this. It's actually going to put it in a separate tab, and of course, I can then just do a copy and move it back over here to my original one. Let's say I want to maybe put it here on the side here and do that. Now, the things to keep in mind about this this graph is that it is no longer tied to your original data. If we go back, it's actually tied to this new table that Gemini created over here. So if for some reason you wanted to change the chart, the graph, you would need to change it in this data here, and then that change would be reflected over on the chart where you copied it over. But if you don't, if you change the data in the original table, it's not going to show up. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that and get that off of there. I'm also going to, now remember, you can't always adjust this, your Gemini kind of panel back and forth so you can see things a little better. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and clear my kind of Gemini memory. Click on that, and it'll give you a little message here saying, are you sure? And I say sure. And it goes back to the gems and the kind of the prompts. So now I want to go back, and now I want to do some conditional formatting. So we're going to do some conditional formatting, and I'm going to say, based on, this time that's in column B, anything, let's see, over, let's say, it looks like we got big numbers this time. So we'll say anything less than 150,000, we are going to color. Let's see if it does this. Color, and it says, okay, I can do that. B21, it read it, and let's click on that, and it found a couple that were that. So now let's do another one. So you can see, you can kind of keep doing this if you wanted to. We'll do another prompt this time. B, and for values greater than, we'll say maybe 375. We'll color red, and we'll see what that does. So it's thinking now, and you could keep doing this. I wish it would do them all at once. I had several, and maybe in the future it will, but now you can see it's colored them red. And then we can go in and kind of fill the in-between. So you can see you can do that conditional formatting as well. I'm going to go ahead and back out of those. So that kind of shows you how to do conditional formatting. The other thing is that it did put some drop-down boxes in here, but if you wanted to create your own drop-down boxes, you could. So I got another prompt here, and it says, give me a drop-down box based on the start location for column, and this time we're in column F for our. So what it's going to do, it's going to think, it's going to read column F, and it's going to create a drop-down box on your data now. Oh, it gave me a little error there, and I'm not sure why. I could probably try it again. And let's undo it, and let me try. I'm not sure why it gave me that error, but don't you always love a live demo? So we'll try this one more time. I've got another drop-down box I want to try here, see if this does any better. And I don't know if there's an error in the data that's kind of, yeah, interesting how it not quite working. So let me try this. I have another one of my own. And I'm going to undo that, take that off of there, and we're going to try our own. So here's a drop down. I gave it some specific names and we're going to give it we're going to add this to our data here. So now I said, give me a drop down box for column H, and now it's going to go, and now we have these drop down boxes, and I can choose Dallas. You don't see many tornadoes in Fairbanks, so we'll give them a couple of them, but you can go in there and kind of fill this in. So a great way to add those drop down boxes. So we've seen how to do conditional formatting, doing a drop down box, building charts and graphs and things like that. But I want to go over to some hail data that I have, because there's another function inside of your actual sheet. We've kind of been using Gemini outside of the sheet, kind of reaching into the sheet, but you can actually build prompts inside of your Google Sheet that kind of you can then have Gemini work on. And the format is pretty simpler. It's just like building a formula. It's the equal sign and the letters AI, and it kind of gives you a summary there of what they can do. Then it'll be a open bracket, and then whatever your statement is, then you would do a close close parentheses, and then kind of a range of what cells that you wanted it to look in, and then finally you would close everything out. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that because I've got this prompt all ready to go here. And so I'm going to come back and we're going to try this. So this says create a sentence based on this data in the hail data for insertion into storm data report. So what I'm telling Gemini is create a sentence based on the data in this row from A2 to K12, so those are just that row. And then I could take and copy that through into storm data. And of course, then I can just grab this bottom thing and I can slide it down here. And now Gemini will create sentences based on the data in each of these rows that I can then copy out and insert into storm data. You know, you see some of these sentences excuse me, aren't very great. Hail fell in Iowa on this date. You can actually select it and have it, hey, try that again. Give me and see if it gives me a little better. The more data that you give it, the more information that you give it, the better that sentence would be. Maybe you give it the the exact location of the town where it occurred or anything like that. The more data that you provided, but you could then just take this, this on April 19th at 9:29, 1-inch hail was reported in Wisconsin with no fatalities, property loss, or crop loss. And then you can drop that into storm data. So you can see you can build Gemini prompts right into your data. So it's another great tool to have. All right, so covered a lot of ground there. Again, we went over how to create templates, how to create a table, formulas, how to do a bar graph or any kind of chart, conditional formatting, doing a drop-down box, even how to build an AI prompt into your actual spreadsheet and have it work on the data inside of the spreadsheet. So you can see initially you would go, I don't see what Gemini could do for me inside of Sheets. Now you can see that there are lots of things that you can do inside it. You can have it summarize a table. You can have it do all of these different things. So it's a great tool, especially if you have some of these bigger tool sets to begin to work on the data inside of your Google Sheets. So I hope you find this helpful. Let me know how you're using Gemini in your Google Sheets, and I hope everyone has a great day.